Think about your dream getaway in the Philippines. Maybe it's the breathtaking landscapes of Coron, the waves of Siargao, the white sands of Boracay, or the vibrant city life of Cebu. Sunlight Air, the country's premier boutique airline, connects you to these incredible places. And the woman making it all happen? CEO Ryna Brito-Garcia. We sat down with millennial boss Ryna to talk about her team's journey and how she uses her platform to empower women to pursue their passion. This is Angel Martinez, and this is Her Power, where we showcase extraordinary Filipino women who are redefining success.
I heard that you didn't actually start out in aviation. So could you tell me about your colorful career trajectory and what ultimately pushed you to change fields?
Well, I actually started my work in Australia with several internships, as most people go through. I worked in fashion, and ultimately, when I graduated, I did work in a legal tech firm. So it's very far off from where I ended up here today. But when I did join the group of companies, I started in the retail industry, where my main project was to digitalize the retail space when e-commerce wasn't that big yet in the Philippines. After a year or so, I then transitioned into the hospitality industry. This industry took about 2 years of my career, and my main focuses were on sales, marketing, and operations. This became the foundation of how I build Sunlight Air today, which is heavily focused on Filipino hospitality and customer experience.
Do you think your exposure to all of these industries kind of helped prepare you for your current role in a very complex, space like aviation?
Definitely. I think with everything that we do, we get pieces of experiences and knowledge from everything that we do and put it all together as a strength of how we do things.
So what do you think were some of the biggest challenges that you faced while preparing for your role as CEO?
Some of the biggest challenges, the industry is very traditional. Of course, the industry has its set of ways that they do things already. It's heavily regulated, high in capital. It's a very small industry too in the Philippines. So coming from a fresh eye, bringing in a new perspective in different industries and bringing it into the airline industry, I feel that there may be times that you really need to do everything you can and back your decisions with data and experiences from other businesses, local and international, to prove that your decisions are actually worth trying, whether that be a fresh positioning in an industry, digitalization even. So that's probably one of the biggest challenges that I encounter up to today.
And I did read that Sunlight Air also started during the pandemic. So I was very interested in how you were able to steer the entire organization during a time of crisis and just reframe it as a moment of opportunity.
To start, we didn't really mean to launch the airline during a pandemic. Obviously, I think no wildly crazy person would do that, but the timelines just happened and we ended up launching the airline during the pandemic. I believe that my leadership, being adaptive and resilient and openness to change, really equipped Sunlight Air to be able to adapt to, like you said, a crisis. So during the pandemic, that's when we launched the Travel Bubble package, which is an end-to-end travel experience where you can book your hotel, airline, tours, all in one platform to lessen the touch points of all our passengers.
I was also interested, since you mentioned your leadership style, has it evolved through the years, or do you think you're kind of staying the same?
It's definitely evolved. In the beginning, when I first started the airline, we were a team of 3. And so it really needed somebody who could do everything. So when that meant doing marketing, operations, handling regulatory bodies, liaising. But now with having enough team to be handling different functions of the company and having these people who have specialized in these functions for years of their career, I have learned to delegate also and focus on making sure that everybody in the team is aligned with the company's vision and goals.
I'm also interested in the unique challenges that you face in the aviation industry today, like not necessarily when you started out. What does your day-to-day kind of look like?
Some of the biggest challenges, I believe, like I said earlier, we come from an industry that is quite traditional. We are heavily regulated, high capital. And so with that, there are certain decisions, perspectives, and ideas that some people in the team may not accept on the get-go. But, with providing sufficient data, case studies, we're able to execute these ideas well, and they're proven to be effective. Of course, there's always that misconception. Someone who isn't coming from an airline industry does not fully understand the best that's for the business, but I think the fresh perspective actually becomes a strength for the company, and hence today we are able to operate as a one-of-a-kind boutique airline in this industry.
Yeah, I did notice that your competitive advantage is kind of like the degree of customization when it comes to like your products. How do you guys ensure that you stay competitive in that front? Like, how do you constantly innovate?
Well, I think really that the prime strategy that we use in order to always innovate and make sure that we are innovating in a way that serves our target audience right is making sure that we listen to what they need. So actually on a bi-weekly basis, we go through all of the feedbacks of our passengers. So the entire management committee joins in on this meeting and reads through all the feedback that we get. And from there, we adjust and adapt our strategies on the requirements of our passengers.
I was also wondering how you cultivate a certain like company culture here within Sunlight. Like, what are the core values that kind of anchor your team?
Well, coming from my experience of working abroad, having a positive work culture is very, very important. It is something that is considered one of the priorities of a company. And so when I started working in the leadership team of Sunlight Air, it's become one of our priorities to really make sure that we foster positive culture in the company. And to be specific, it's to encourage a collaborative environment. So that means that for certain decisions within the organization, as much as possible, we try to involve everybody in the team. We also believe that with this collaborative culture, we are able to build accountability with each and every member of this organization in such a way that they feel a part of the growth of the company.
What's the best advice on leadership that you've received?
This is probably not an advice that I've received, but is an environment that I've learned to embrace, which is that there are always many changes that can happen in any industries. In business, you always have to adapt and adopt new technologies, new developments. And so one of the things that I have learned is that if you are unable to adapt or adopt or even try to learn the new developments that are happening around us, then you'll be left behind.
Could you tell me what a typical day in your life looks like and how you're able to balance all of the roles that you have?
I've always said in many previous interviews that I've done that work-life balance is something that I value deeply. So usually on weekdays, I'm here. I'm working, but I do put a lot of importance in how I spend my weekends, whether that be spending time with family or friends, or just spending time alone. That's probably how a typical day would look like for me.
Yeah, actually, that's a pretty underrated answer. Like, the importance of spending time alone. Not a lot of people focus on that. Like, what are your preferred methods of self-care?
Probably just staying home, eating, watching shows, listening to music. I used to dive every weekend, but I've come to a point wherein I need a lot of quiet times. I think the job entails meeting a lot of people on a daily basis also. So on weekends, I really value alone time.
What's the most important lesson you've learned when it comes to achieving work-life balance?
Well, Sunline Air is on its 6th year this year. In the first 3 years, I probably always pushed myself to work. And if I wasn't working, I felt I was not doing enough or I wasn't doing a good job. But I think the past 2 years, I really realized that if I did not take care of myself, if I reached the point of burnout, then that would not do the company any good also. It would reflect on how I lead and inspire the team and how I make sure that everybody is aligned towards the vision and the goals of the company. So with that realization these days, I really make sure that I work productively and efficiently, but never to a point that I cannot do more the next day.
Do you believe that women face unique struggles in the work-life balance department? Because, right, you're a homemaker, but you also have to be like on top of everything in the workplace. Anything like that?
Well, reality is that women do face a level of unique challenges, a set of unique challenges, balancing being a mom, being a daughter, working in a company. However, I did come from a home where both my parents worked for many years in their life. And my mom as well has worked throughout her career, despite being a mother of 4. And so, with that said, I think that although there are these there is this set of unique challenges. With prioritization, compartmentalization, being able to organize your time and your tasks, it is not impossible to do or to face.
If you could elaborate on that, like if you could give advice to any woman who's struggling in the work-life balance department, how would you suggest that they go about it?
I'd like to go back to what I said earlier about that it is just as important to take care of yourself and to work productively and efficiently. I think whatever position that you carry in a company, it is your duty to yourself and to your team members or colleagues that you are able to take care of yourself so that you're able to produce effective output and inspire other people.
Speaking of women's struggles, I know that aviation is traditionally seen as like a male-dominated field. Like women are always ever seen as flight attendants, but you don't think of them as the ones flying the plane or like running everything behind the scenes. Are there still barriers to women entering aviation today based on your experiences or observations?
Maybe in the first 2 years working in the airline industry, I may have noticed that only because even with applications, I wouldn't see a lot of female applicants applying in positions that are traditionally or conventionally a man's role. But today, I see a lot of women who are pilots. I see a lot of women in managerial positions. So I think slowly women are starting to break that barrier, and we're slowly starting to take on roles despite it being commonly for men.
How do you plan on using your platform to uplift women in the industry?
Well, there are certain opportunities and platforms like this one that you guys have generously given me. And I think with that, my role, my leadership here is able to inspire other women to take on roles as well that may seem difficult.
Yeah. What advice would you have for young women who want to end up in leadership roles but, I don't know, feel like a sense of self-doubt, maybe self-sabotage, typical women struggles here?
Right. I think that the most important that I have learned in my experience is for us women to trust ourselves, the skills, experiences, capabilities that we have with us, and keep pushing forward. Don't let the doubts and the uncertainties stop you from trying, because it's only when you try that you actually get to achieve your dreams and goals.
Do you think there are any traits you possess as a woman that have given you an advantage as a leader in the field?
Definitely. I think as women, there is this misconception that we're highly emotional.
Oh, yeah.
But I actually think that a woman's natural compassion, empathy, ability to handle different roles in life actually has become the strength of a woman. I carry these values as well in my work, and because Sunlight Air in particular as a boutique airline prioritizes for customer experience heavily with these roles, I am really able to empathize with our customers' needs, and as well as hear out employees' sentiments, ideas.
So this is going to be my last question. So what is the legacy that you hope to leave behind, both as a leader and as a woman?
As a leader and as a woman, if I were to leave a legacy behind, it would probably be that for all women to feel that they can be in any role, and that doesn't have to be big or small, but I just hope that women one day can feel empowered enough that their gender never becomes a barrier to anything that they want to do in their lives.
Thank you so much for having us. I really appreciated this conversation, and I'm sure our viewers do too. Once again, this is Angel Martinez for Her Power. Thank you for watching.